Before we start, please note that the following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. According to Inner City Press, the courtroom fell silent as 50 Cent, who is known for his sharp tongue and no-nonsense demeanor, took the stand in what would turn out to be the most unexpected testimony of the Diddy trial. For years, he had been making fun of Diddy online with cryptic jokes and bold accusations, but no one had anticipated that he would appear in court and say it all under oath. Prosecutors are looking into a number of trafficking and misconduct charges, and 50 has revealed a hidden lifestyle that no one was supposed to discuss. He brought receipts and a list of names where the industry's worst-kept secret was finally revealed. The judge told the gallery to keep their cool, but you could feel the tension rising as 50's next words and the people he claimed were involved changed everything. 50 Cent and Diddy's feud didn't begin in court. Rather, it began in whispers, interviews, and viral. For years, 50 has been the only rapper to publicly criticize Diddy's actions through Instagram posts that are often humorous but also contain deeper meanings. In 2014, 50 Cent shared a meme suggesting that Diddy and Rick Ross had a closer-than-expected relationship. The post made headlines for days, but most people dismissed it as trolling, but the jokes continued. In 2018, 50 made an appearance on The Breakfast Club and mentioned an incident involving Diddy that, in his words, gave him uneasy feelings. He claimed that Diddy had once invited him to go shopping with him, saying, "I'll pay for it." In 2022, when the lawsuit floodgates opened against Diddy and multiple accusers began coming forward, 50's tone changed to "told you," reposting the Cassie lawsuit headline on Instagram. "Yo, this just feels funny to me. What grown man invites another man to shop with him and says he'll pay for it?" The room laughed, but it was obvious that 50 was trying to tell people something about Diddy's private life. For years, fans began to take 50 Cent more seriously as someone who had been trying to warn the public, not as a troll. Now that he is under oath, the prosecution called him as a surprise witness to share what he knew from private meetings and industry events, as well as his own strange experiences with Diddy. His job was to give the jury a better picture of the man behind the mogul mask, and insiders claim that he brought a list of incidents that included names of artists, collaborators, and victims, starting with someone everyone had already suspected. We all knew about Flavor Camp, as Puff called it, and when Usher was just 14, we used to wonder what the hell a teenage boy was doing living with a man like Diddy. 50's testimony began with the one name that most people already knew had a strange connection to Diddy: Usher. He told the court what fans had been speculating about for years, and what happened during that time raised questions that have never been answered. "I'm not saying Usher said anything to me." He cited the 2016 Howard Stern. Usher, who was already an adult, danced awkwardly around the topic in the interview. He said some interesting things, but he never elaborated. 50 told the court that the boy appeared to have something to say, but Puff had the ability to silence people. He continued by discussing an event he had gone to where he had witnessed Diddy and Usher interact years later, and they still had that strange tension. He claimed that Usher was keeping his distance, not in a "we're just busy" way, but rather in a witness statement. The industry doesn't rely on paper trails. Instead, it relies on what people whisper backstage and what we see when the camera is off. However, 50 did something unexpected when he took a folded sheet out of his inside jacket pocket and said, "This is who I know, who I heard, who I believe, because it's not just about Diddy being freaky. It's about how he used his power to pull young stars in." His first name was Usher Raymond, and he was young, vulnerable, and when Usher 50 switched to a rapper who had recently been caught on camera looking extremely uncomfortable, Fablies, during an appearance on the Drink Champs podcast, Diddy kept asking Fabulous why they never party together. "We ain't never really party," Diddy said, smiling, but Fabulous just looked away and laughed nervously. In court, 50 described what he saw behind the scenes. Everyone knew that Diddy was grooming him, and the gallery gasped, and the judge told them to keep quiet, but this was just the beginning. He then recalled a private industry event where Diddy allegedly cornered Fabulous and made another advance. "I remember Fab telling someone, 'Man, I just want to go home.' Diddy wouldn't let him puff and kept saying, 'Come on, I got a room upstairs, just chill.' Fab dipped out the back door, which was consistent with Fabulous' own story that he once shared on Instagram about feigning to use the restroom. rather than leaving a dodgy party at 7 a.m. The jury was shocked when 50 revealed that he personally advised younger rappers to avoid being alone with Diddy. "I told him, don't accept gifts, don't go to his house, and don't ever agree to no party after the party, that's when things get dark," but it was what he said next that had the courtroom buzzing. There were a number of us artists, bodyguards, and assistants, all of whom had stories, but Puff never wanted to be there. I'm here to tell it plainly because he has lawyers' power and terror on his side. Prosecutors asked, "Are you willing to name everyone on that list?" The 3 names that have been mentioned so far had everyone aware that more were coming. "Oh, this is just the warm-up," 50 remarked, glancing directly at Diddy. 50 Cent remarked, "Because people still see Justin like that little kid," as the courtroom leaned in and attention turned to one of the most unexpected names on his list, Justin Bieber. "This one is going to upset some of you. Puff had him around when he was new to the game, and let me tell you that many of them didn't like the bowl cut." 50 recalled a notorious video clip from years ago in which Diddy was heard saying, "I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours he's with me." The mogul made it sound lighthearted, saying, "But under oath," but he said, "But industry insiders always knew what that really meant." Nobody's talking about mentoring when it's to him. The child is 15 years old and I'm in Miami. I'm not saying nothing happened, I saw it with my own eyes, but I heard from people close to Justin who were afraid to speak that 48 hours it wasn't music lessons, it wasn't songwriting, they said it was exposure to things no teenage boy should see, he said when asked by prosecutors what he thought happened during that time. He didn't provide graphic details, but he made his point clear. Diddy, and when asked in an interview if he would allow his own child to attend Flavor Camp, he chuckled uneasily and responded, "Hell no." 50 told the court that this wasn't a joke but rather a recollection of Bieber's later public breakdowns and severe emotional trauma, which he said were partially caused by the dark side of fame. He claimed that Puff planned it, found them young, promised them the world, and then controlled them with gifts and silence. 50 added, "And the silence is loud." When questioned if 50 said, "No, not in public." Bieber has never spoken out openly. As the jury considered the implications, Diddy reportedly looked down at the table without expressing anything, but the courtroom wasn't finished because 50 Cent was just reaching the section of the list that included people even closer to the streets and the secrets only he had the courage to speak. But he spoke volumes by what he didn't say, by what he avoids, by how quickly he moved away from Puff once he had the chance. The courtroom murmured as 50 Cent paused and looked directly at Diddy. Then he said, "This isn't just hearsay," before continuing. The room fell silent as he went on, "I got it straight from the man who saw it himself. I'm talking about my guy Gene Deal." Gene Deal's longtime bodyguard had previously spoken in an interview, but now his story was being echoed under oath. 50. Gene claimed that Puff was in there buying all kinds of toys and stuff you don't even want to picture, like racks of stuff, and Gene, being security, had to. The story was made unforgettable by what happened after they flew out for a show in North Carolina, according to Gene's testimony. Ja Rule and Puff entered a private suite, and a few minutes later, Ja Rule himself opened the door, stuck his head out, and told Gene, "Yo, you might not want to come in here, it's a little freaky in here tonight." Prosecutors leaned in as the courtroom strained, asking, "What did that mean?" They inquired about 50. When asked why Ja Rule never talked about the incident, 50 shrugged and said, "That's what I've been saying for years. Nobody wanted to say anything, not until now, but I'm here now and I'm saying it." He didn't mince words, he didn't mean candles and bubble baths, he meant whatever was happening in that room, it wasn't just 2 guys lounging. He made it clear that his goal was not to degrade others but rather to reveal a pattern. It has nothing to do with sexuality but rather with compulsion, where people use their authority to do what they want, when they want, to anyone they want. This isn't about what 2 grown men do. Rather, it's about what one wealthy man does to everyone in his vicinity. He claimed that the Ja Rule incident was one of many that took place behind closed doors and were silenced by the NDA and fame, but the damage persisted. Ja never spoke, but he hasn't been the same since. Like many others I haven't even mentioned yet, he blew up quickly, had 1 hit, and then suddenly the boy started. "The same playbook," he replied, altering. People think it's just a vacation, but 50 said, "I told y'all before, Puff doesn't take people anywhere without expecting something in return." 50 claims that Diddy enticed Osiris with promises of luxury, lavish travel, mentorship, and a rumored getaway to Jamaica. He recalled social media buzz when Osiris shared pictures from Jamaica, and fans posted receipts from the same hotel and beaches the same week. Osiris tried to laugh it off, claiming he went with his girlfriend, but it didn't work. Feel right to people who have been in this game long enough. Then came the Instagram Live meltdown, in which Osiris sobbed and ranted about feeling alone in the industry, implying that no one knows what really happens. 50 showed the court a clip of the video in which the boy was disintegrating and no one helped. He linked the emotional fallout to Diddy's pattern, in which he finds young talent, love bombs them with gifts and attention, and then something changes and they start to fall apart. Prosecutors asked if Osiris ever made. The courtroom processed yet another name on the list, and 50 concluded the segment with a chilling reminder of how many young black artists had a breakdown before you all saw the pattern. This isn't a coincidence, this is a system, and Puff is at the center. When 50 Cent brought up the next name, the entire room tensed. "Let's talk about Usher," he said flatly, and this one has been right in people's faces for years, but no one has done anything about it. Wanted to say nothing, so he began by narrating the now famous video of Usher discussing how he lived with Diddy when he was a teenager. Usher was 14 years old when he said, 50 said, and Puff had him in what they called flavor camp. But do you ever stop to think what kind of grown man invites a teenage boy to come live with him like that? He quoted Usher, saying, "Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was older, we used to wake up and fight over the frosted flakes." 50 stared out across the jury. The court then listened to a clip in which Diddy casually admitted in a live stream that "me and Usher used to sleep together," followed by a clumsy pause and "no homo." Diddy went on to explain that the Usher situation always bothered people in the industry, with people whispering about it. 50 said, "Not because of orientation but because Usher was a kid, and we all knew Puff had power. If Puff wanted you around, you didn't say no." As he concluded the Usher portion of his testimony, 50 said something that stuck with everyone in the room. "You think it's a coincidence that he's always been tight-lipped about that part of his life after that early exposure? You think it's just trauma from the industry, but no, it's from what he's seen and what he was part of." He also mentioned that Usher never really denies the rumors to this day. Instead, he dances around them, but if you ask him directly, he laughs, shrugs, and moves on. That's not someone comfortable, that's someone scared. It's about what they never say. Then came a surprising pair of names, Fabulous and Kevin Hart. You might think they had nothing to do with this, but I saw it and I know what they saw. He brought up a bizarre Drink Champs interview in which Diddy began flirting with Fabulous on air, asking why they never went out together. You could see Fab's face looked shaken, and 50 said he wasn't smiling, he wasn't joking, and he looked like he was being reminded of something. Finally, the infamous Kevin Hart live stream moment came, in which Diddy joked that he used to wake up with Usher and, "Look at Kevin's face," 50 said, "but he doesn't let you bring your security. Why do you think that is?" "Because that wasn't a laugh, that was fear." "I hope this dude doesn't say too much," 50 said, adding that both Kevin and Fab had been exposed to situations they hadn't signed up for. "Puff always throws the wildest parties," he said. He related tales of phones being seized, secret chambers, non-disclosure agreements, and crazy party customs that involved blindfolds, drugs, and topics that guests only discussed in whispers before puffing people. "And once you've been to one of those parties, he owns you," 50 claimed, referring to actions they would never take in the light of day. When asked to rewatch those clips, he said, "It's not always about what happened, sometimes it's about what you were pressured into feeling like you owed. That's how Puff works." He said that Kevin Hart and Fabulous were just two examples of men who attempted to laugh off the situation but whose faces told a different story. Have you ever seen a man laugh while dying inside at 50? As 50 Cent concluded his testimony, the courtroom fell silent. Then, he took a folded sheet of paper from his jacket and said, "This is the list the one people said didn't exist." He started to carefully read names, ushering YK Osiris, Justin Bieber, Ja Rule, Bow Wow, Trey Songz, Kevin Hart, Fable, and more, some of which I won't even mention because they're not ready yet, but they will be. The jury didn't need to be persuaded that the videos were public, and now, under oath, the context behind the nervous laughter was finally being revealed. When asked why, 50 said that he had a whole system of people who looked the other way, helped him cover it up, and cleaned up his messes. He told them that the silence wasn't just fear, but protection. They all signed NDAs, were told they wouldn't be able to work again if they spoke, and some of them believed it. He also added that some names on the list weren't victims but collaborators, people he recruited who benefited from it, but I won't name them today. He chose to testify 50 times and gave a straightforward response. I have children, and I'm not allowing this man to harm the future generation because I've witnessed too many people break down. He concluded by saying, this trial is about the power this man used to break and ruin people, not about a single video, Cassie, or even the money, and I'm not going to remain silent any longer. The courtroom sat in startled silence instead of cheering or clapping because when someone like 50 Cent, the courtroom was empty that day, and the entire industry looked shaken because what 50 Cent had done wasn't just testify. He'd opened Pandora's box. The headlines were immediately 50 Cent names in the Diddy trial freak-off scandal expands. Is hip-hop's power structure collapsing? But the real fallout began behind the scenes as PR teams went into overdrive, lawyers started drafting cease and desist letters, and celebrities who had previously posted. Overnight, sources near the courtroom disclosed that a number of well-known individuals mentioned in 50's testimony were very worried about being subpoenaed. They are now lawyering up, and one insider stated, this thing's about to get a lot bigger. Vacation photos with Diddy abruptly went silent, social media feeds were cleaned, comments were disabled, and some pages were completely erased. As rumors in Hollywood became more widespread, agencies started to distance themselves from their clients, and endorsement arrangements were discreetly halted. Studios and streaming services also reassessed their current partnerships with artists affiliated with Bad Boy, including Kevin Hart, who once dismissed Diddy's antics on live TV, canceled 2 appearances the following week, citing family time. Meanwhile, fans flooded online forums, unearthing long-forgotten posts, cryptic quotes, and old interviews. Every Instagram Live, every Drink Champs episode, and every awkward red carpet exchange were now being reanalyzed under a harsh new light. One Twitter user wrote, and it's just starting. The most terrifying of. In an Instagram post the morning after his testimony, 50 indicated that he didn't care about the NDAs. He said, they tried to cancel me before. I dare them to try again. You all are not going to shut me up while these people suffer. Several former Bad Boy artists privately told investigative reporters that they had signed contracts that prohibited them from ever speaking negatively about Sean Combs, his family, his business partners, or even his events. One clause reportedly forbade the disclosure of unusual behavior observed at gatherings. With the straightforward statement, more names coming soon, he posted a picture of himself in front of the courthouse. The quiet had ended, and for the first time, the protective device. Perhaps the untouchables are breaking.